Hello and welcome to MIP TV. And with me is the bookworm extraordinaire, the polymath of psychotherapeutic literature, Mr. Bob Cook. How you doing, Bob?
Hi, Roy. We're up to number 55, I think.
55 books, and this one is a really, really interesting book. It's really one for those of you who are thinking of doing a supervision course, and it's called Good Practice in Supervision in Counselling and Psychotherapy by Don Feasley. F-E-A-S-E-Y, Feasley. It's published in 2002. And this is a person who's known to you. He's a Manchester-based psychotherapist. So what attracts you to this particular tome, Bob?
Well, he's a well-known person. And he comes from the psychoanalytical tradition, so that attracts me to start off with because I have a great psychodynamic leaning. But when I looked at the contents of this book, it covers many of the real cornerstones of TA. Besides, supervision. Besides, obviously, what is supervision? But he spends a long time talking about the ethics of supervision, the ethics of psychotherapy, the ethics, the ethicality. So, I train people to be psychotherapists. I also train people to be supervisors. And in the world of supervision, it's so important for supervisors to realize the therapists often, though they think they know what ethics are, they often don't. And one of the main jobs for a supervisor is to teach them what is the ethical processes as a therapist or counsellor. So I really like that chapter.
Yeah. And I think in the week where we've seen the new BACP ethical framework released, it came into use. I don't like to use the word force, but came into use on the 1st of July 2018. It's kind of quite pressing, isn't it? As a supervisor myself, I know that I've been kind of studying it and looking at it and thinking to myself, maybe if a supervisor brings this, I may refer to that part of the new framework. So can you give me a fictional example, Bob, of how a supervisor may work with a supervisor? Give me a kind of made up scenario.
Yeah, in the area of ethics.
In the area of ethics, yeah.
So a supervisor comes in and says, do you know what, I've ended with my client and they've given me this wonderful painting. And I say, oh, really? Well, tell me a little bit about the painting. We find out it's a painting by quite a well-known person, and it was worth £4,000.
Wow.
Right. But, you and I know the the ethical practice around that. She actually didn't.
No.
She thought about, in these terms, the unrelational need of expressing love.
Yes.
So she thought, oh, well, he's just simply expressing love to me. She had no idea about the ethicality around taking monetary presence of this value. So I had to teach her this. That's what I mean about ethics.
Yeah.
It's the duty of the supervisor to provide an educative aspect in supervision. And he talks about it, not this example, but he does talk about the ethical side of supervision. That's one chapter I really like.
Yeah. And I do think in that made-up scenario, and I'm labouring the point it's a made-up scenario, is that, I know you've made that up, but actually, as a supervisor and as someone who taught counselling for 10 years, I have to say that kind of thing comes up quite regularly in terms of gifting. I've written about it, and sometimes people, as you say, don't realise the significance of it and the ethical minefield that surrounds it. And you're right, supervisor has to say, "Whoa, hang on, let's just have a look at this."
Absolutely. Another very common one, if you like, is and it's I'm sure it's in the new BACP code, though I haven't read it, but it's certainly in our TA code, that you don't work with relatives of the same family.
Absolutely.
That's another very common ethical issue for beginning counsellors and therapists, that they may take on the brother and the sister of the same family and see nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. Again, I can say that I've heard of this, and actually it goes into training as well. When I taught, we had people who turned up and they said, I'm related to someone else in the group. And I said, well, you can't, we can't take you. You're going to have to go in a different group.
That's absolutely. So I really like the ethical chapter.
Yeah.
A real important chapter here, which is about relational supervision. And I really like the chapter on there. So if you're interested in how we foster the relationship in supervision, and actually the crossover and the same sort of therapeutic skills or counseling skills that we use and build up a relational relationship, if you want to put that, you cross over to the area of supervision. Because, you think about areas such as shame and trust and, respect and integrity in the building up of a relational supervision.
Yes.
Another chapter I like. He also talks about how to use supervision in organizations.
All right. That's interesting, isn't it?
Clinical supervision, but more importantly, the differentiation, of course, between management supervision, being supervisors. The work line manager just talks about the management of supervision rather than, say, the clinical aspects of supervision.
Yes.
So when you think about it like that,
yes,
differences.
Yeah, that's actually asked in at least one awarding body's criteria. What's the difference between managerial and clinical supervision? Yeah.
I'm amazed because I think, as you know, I run a supervision course. I'm amazed the amount of therapists that I get from different organizations, and their work manager, if you like, or line manager, may call it managerial supervision, but they might do clinical, or they may call it clinical supervision, and that very person is responsible for the promotion of of the therapist. So you can see what they would or wouldn't take to supervision.
Absolutely, Bob, and it's one of my kind of hobby horses, if you like. That I think that supervision should be external of any organisation. Personally, clinical supervision. I know it's not always the case, but my thinking is that how do you criticise the organisation if you're being supervised by someone who works in it?
Yeah, and it's so common, Rory.
It is very common.
And it's so common. And also he talks about good practice in supervision. It's not just about ethics, but it's about sense of integrity. In TA language, adult to adult, rather than child to parent, which comes from the therapy world.
Yes.
Supervision, the focus is adult to adult professional dialogue,
yes.
not working with the unconscious.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea of good, what makes up good practice in supervision. And then, of course, another wonderful chapter is the whole definition and ideas of what supervision is in the first place. Of course, there's many crossovers between what makes up a therapist and what makes up a supervisor, but there's many crossovers.
Oh, of course.
Of the skills we've learned, which we can travel over. So he covers many good areas when he talks about, what is good practice in the world of supervision for psychotherapists and counsellors. And for anybody who wants to move on and, add their portfolio of supervision into their whole practice, they need to, I suggest they go on supervision courses, but they certainly need to read books like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different discipline, and one that needs as much attention as a primary therapeutic discipline. I like the sound of this book, and it's called Good Practice in Supervision. It's by Don Feensley. It was published in 2002. As always, we're going to put a link in the bottom so you can click onto it and inspect the book. And as always, I always say this at the end of the video. Bob doesn't get paid. This isn't a paid placement. We have to say that for YouTube now. But it's not a paid placement. It's just Bob sharing his love of books. So, Bob Cook, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for our 55th book.
55th? Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.